I found a BL story with one of the funniest ideas I've seen in a long time. Our main character is a vampire. One day, he wakes up in an APO world as an Omega. Sounds bad? It gets worse. His fangs are completely gone, and without fangs, he can't drink blood. So now he's literally starving to death. Then, just when he's about to starve, he smells something amazing, blood. The scent leads him to an injured alpha, and our little vampire takes one look at him and basically goes, "Yep, that's dinner." So he follows the alpha home. Now a normal person would probably ask for help. Not this guy. He breaks into the alpha's house and moves into his closet. I'm serious, he actually lives in the closet. During the day, he hides among the alpha's clothes. At night, he sneaks out and drinks blood from the alpha's wounds while he's sleeping. And somehow, the alpha keeps coming home injured almost every day. First the hand, then the chest, then the stomach. The injuries keep showing up in stranger and stranger places. At this point, our vampire thinks he's found the perfect free food source. What he doesn't know is that he isn't nearly as sneaky as he thinks he is.
However, on the fourth day, his wound was actually between his legs. I was shocked. Did this guy go out and fight every day? Why did he always have different wounds? Besides, what kind of normal person fights in that place? I stood there stunned, at a loss. A minute passed, and I was still staring at it, especially the continuously oozing. The fragrance of pheromones and blood filled the entire bedroom, constantly provoking my nerves. His blood was indeed delicious, but the location of the injury was really embarrassing. Who would get injured there? But if I don't eat today, I'll have to go hungry for another day. I touched my empty stomach, and there were two little people fighting in my head. Just as I was hesitating, the person who had been
fast asleep
slowly opened his eyes.
Not going to eat today?
I plopped down on the ground, scared out of my wits. Even when he got out of bed to help me up, I was still trembling nonstop. I stammered, You knew everything." He raised an eyebrow.
Knew what? That you secretly followed me home. Climbed into my bed in the middle of the night? Or maybe that you secretly wore my clothes and underwear?
I was stunned on the spot, as if turned to stone, so he knew from the very beginning. I quickly bowed and apologized. Sorry. Then I explained to him why I did this. He walked to the high island counter, poured a glass of red wine, and in the dim light, he was like a duke of high status in the vampire clan. He was noble, elegant, calm, and self-controlled. From the conversation, I learned his name, Liam. "So, you're a vampire who crossed over, and you followed me just because my blood tastes good?" I nodded, and then, afraid that he might misunderstand me, I quickly said, "I'm not freeloading either. I even clean your room during the day."
Heh.
Liam suddenly let out a soft laugh and asked me in return.
How old are you?
21 years old.
Can you control your pheromones?
I shook my head in confusion. Can pheromones be controlled? Liam helplessly rubbed his forehead.
Since the day you followed me, your pheromones have been all over the place. Now, this room is full of your pheromones. Mateo, I'm also an adult alpha.
Last night's dinner was Liam cutting his finger and letting me suck it, but his hand was very restless, always stirring around. Early in the morning, he took me to register for a household registration and become a legal citizen of the Federation. Then he bought me a lot of clothes, mostly personally selected by him. When buying underwear, he accurately found the right size for me and then said casually,
Don't steal my pants to wear next time.
The size is too big and it doesn't suit you.
Several salespersons laughed from ear to ear and said,
Your husband is so good to you.
I clenched my fists, really wanting to punch him a couple of times. How could he say such a private matter with a straight face? Don't I have any dignity? Moreover, the size I used to wear wasn't small either. Isn't it because I transmigrated into an Omega that it became small? Finally, he sent me to a university not far from home. Through the internet, I also learned his true identity, a general of the Federation. He not only has the highest level pheromone, but his mental power is also incredibly strong. The Omegas chasing him can line up from the Federation to the Empire. No wonder he always has wounds on his body, I murmured. As expected of the Federation general, he's really a nice person. Knowing that I'm from another world, he even specifically got me a household registration, although it's not in the same booklet as his.
Hey. You're looking at Liam again? Stop daydreaming. He's not someone we can get close to.
My deskmate glanced at the screen of my phone and said, some Omegas in the front row were unconvinced and turned around to refute.
Who says it's impossible? The old master of the Levin family said back then that if he didn't find an Omega to marry by the age of 30, he would be force-paired.
Yes. Liam is only a month away from turning 30. What if someone gets really lucky and gets paired with him?
Haven't you read today's news? Liam has been going in and out of hotels with another Omega. Do you think you still have a chance?
Until I got on the car to go back, that sentence kept repeating in my mind. Coincidentally, a news item was pushed to my phone.
Shocking. Liam and Isabella spotted entering hotel together. Isabella's side responds, preparing for wedding.
One of the accompanying pictures showed Liam and an Omega celebrity, Isabella, entering the hotel together. In the photo, Isabella was pulling on the hem of Liam's clothes, and the two were acting intimately. Another was a screenshot of Isabella's optical brain. Thank you all for your blessings. Currently preparing for marriage. Netizens from all walks of life rushed to gossip, and the comments section had already exploded. Congratulations. General Z's happy event is approaching. Hee hee. I was still waiting for that one in 100 million chance of being matched with Liam. Now, it's all over. The corner of my mouth twitched. Could you stop being so cringy? I'm getting goosebumps. Most of the comments in the comment section were blessings. But there were also some who weren't too optimistic. Am I the only one who thinks these two don't match at all? Liam's complexion doesn't look good. The fan of that Omega replied below, the complexion is bad because of being secretly photographed. General 11 originally wanted to protect our Isabella well, but was photographed and exposed in advance. He must be unhappy. The person upstairs? You have quite an imagination. If you're jealous of our Isabella, just say so. You, a loser, are jealous of Isabella. Why don't you take a piss and take a look at yourself? Do you even deserve one of Liam's toes? Go wash up and go to sleep. We vampires don't have the word, loser. So I searched for it online. After summarizing, it's just 3 words, short, poor, and ugly. Short, I'm 178 cm tall, and Liam is 190 cm tall. Compared to him, I'm short, poor, I'm penniless, while Liam is extremely wealthy. I'm poor, ugly. I think I can still compete with Liam in terms of handsomeness. According to the principle of 2 wins out of 3 rounds, I found that I indeed seem to be a loser who doesn't deserve Liam. When I got home at night, my stomach was almost starving. Human food can't satisfy my hunger, only blood can. When Liam went out in the morning, he said to me,
Go straight home after class. I'll come back at night for you to suck my blood.
But according to today's news, Liam is most likely to have an intimate encounter with his Omega. Although I didn't have much hope, I still sent Liam a message. When will you be home? I'm so hungry. It was a long time before Liam replied.
Sorry. I can't come back tonight. There's duck blood in the fridge. You can make do with it first. I'll satisfy you tomorrow night.
I gently turned off my phone. Big liar. You clearly promised to come back tonight. I opened the fridge, took a bite of the duck blood, and spat it out the next second. It tastes so bad. This is the worst tasting blood I've ever had in my life. In order not to go to bed hungry, I could only finish the duck blood with tears in my eyes. Before going to bed, I lay in bed, silently digesting a fact. Liam is getting married soon, and I'm a loser who doesn't deserve him. In the future, he will be out all night more and more often. Maybe he'll even kick me out and turn to welcome his newly wed Omega. I think I should find a new blood bag. The next day, when I was in class, I suddenly smelled a fragrant smell. It was blood. I looked back and found that the alpha in the back row had accidentally cut his hand, and the blood was flowing down the table onto the ground. I know him. He added me on WeChat before and asked me to go out and play, but I believed the nonsense Liam said at that time.
All alphas are bad guys. Don't pay attention to them.
Now I realize that no matter how bad an alpha is, he can't be worse than Liam. He is a complete scoundrel. The blood of the alpha in the back row also smells so good, although it's much inferior to Liam's. It must be more delicious than yesterday's duck blood. I swear I'll never eat such unpalatable things as duck blood again. I took out a piece of toilet paper and handed it to him to wipe the blood, then blinked and whispered, Didn't you ask me to go out and play before? Is it okay tonight? He nodded in disbelief.
Okay, Just tonight?
After class in the evening, I walked out of the school side by side with him, planning to go to the newly opened claw machine near the school to catch dolls. I had already sent a message to the driver of the 11 family in advance, asking him not to pick me up. I would go back by myself tonight, but I still saw that familiar aircraft at the school gate. I was about to call the driver when I saw the door of the back seat being opened, and Liam got out with a dark face. His face was like smeared with coal, and his eyes were full of anger. I've never seen him so angry before. In an instant, all kinds of force plays flashed through my mind. It's over. I started running. Naturally, the result of my escape was that he threw me into the back seat of the aircraft like lifting a chick. Liam's eyes were cold and his face showed a strong look of anger. He said,
Didn't you say you'd come back tonight? Why didn't you go home? Were you still planning to go on a date with another alpha?
As soon as Liam mentioned this, I got angry. My voice was a bit choked up. Didn't you say you'd come back last night? But you ended up going to a hotel with another Omega. Thousands of grievances poured out like a waterfall. I bit Liam's arm hard. Liam, however, looked completely stunned.
What hotel?
I took out my phone and showed him the post I saw yesterday. As he looked at it, Liam's face completely darkened. He stroked my head and comforted me.
It's all fake. Don't believe it. I was kept at the old house by the old man last night.
Then he made a phone call, saying only a few concise words.
Delete the news and block Isabella.
The interior of the aircraft was filled with a low-pressure atmosphere. I lay on his lap, not daring to move.
Isabella was the arranged marriage partner by the old man. I refused from the very beginning. The photos were taken with a borrowed position.
I stared at him in shock with wide eyes. Ah, she's your arranged marriage partner, then there's no need to block her, is there? Liam lowered his eyelashes like crow feathers, and his eyes were obscure.
If I don't show my attitude now, in case someone gets jealous in the future, I'll still have to coax them.
I nodded, not quite understanding. After all, Liam will be matched in a month. If his future partner gets angry because of this, it would indeed be quite troublesome. But clearly he had already given me an explanation. So why do my eyes still feel a bit sore? I tugged at his sleeve and asked weakly, What kind of Omega do you like? Liam stared at me, a smile curving his lips.
One with courage. The kind who dares to climb into my bed in the middle of the night.
That night, Liam personally logged onto the optical brain and sent a message. Who are you? Below the text was a picture, a lawyer's letter sent by Liam.
So Liam and Isabella don't know each other at all. Is Isabella deliberately trying to gain popularity?
No way. Has Isabella lost her mind? How dare she try to ride on Liam's coattails?
To be fair, Liam never used to care about these things. This time he stepped in probably because he's about to be matched. And he has to be responsible to his future Omega. I wonder who will be so lucky. I'm insanely jealous.
The post where Isabella's fans called others losers was also dug up, and netizens mocked her one after another.
So the so-called protection now is to send a lawyer's letter to the other party. Learn something new?
Seeing that the situation was not right, that fan promptly canceled the account, and Isabella lost tens of millions of followers overnight and was blacklisted by all entertainment companies. Afterwards, she tearfully posted a video to apologize, but no one bought it. What awaits her will be legal sanctions. This little episode quickly passed, and almost everyone turned their attention to Liam's match in a month. But I didn't hold out much hope. After all, believing in such a low probability event is like believing a sow can climb a tree. And the ideal type Liam mentioned before obviously wasn't me, not to mention climbing into his bed to seduce him. I didn't even dare to mention the request of pestering him to stay at his place. The fake Isabella left, but the real Isabella was only a matter of time. Years of statistical data from the Federation prove that the owls who get together through matching have the lowest divorce rate. Their high degree of compatibility is destined in their genes. Therefore, the vast majority of people will look for their future partners through matching. Liam actually made the right decision. I secretly found a part-time job outside to earn money, reserved a rental house in advance, and decided to move there on the day Liam got matched. This day came soon. The matching was held in the form of a banquet. The staff from the Owl Matching Center brought the equipment to the old residence of the Levin family. When the appointed time arrived, The on-site matching was carried out in the database. Many elites from various fields gathered at the banquet. They were all figures who often appeared on TV, which was enough to show how much Liam attached importance to this matching. One day before, he gave me an invitation letter inlaid with gold thread and specifically told me to attend the banquet. Why do I have to go? Liam stared into my eyes and said word by word.
You are the protagonist.
I understood. The language and culture are indeed extensive and profound, presumably. Everyone who came to the banquet was the protagonist. After all, they were all witnesses to Liam's future happiness. It was also the first time I saw him dressed so grandly. He even put on his admiral's military uniform on purpose. His expression was different from his usual calmness. There was always a faint smile on his face. I stood in the corner, sipping the orange juice in my glass, and occasionally meeting Liam's gaze. Is there something dirty on my face? Why does he keep staring at me? Besides, he's about to have an Omega. Why does he keep staring at me? What would his Omega think if she knew? 1 minute before the matching, Liam was called to the preparation room by the 11 family, and I secretly slipped out of the venue. I returned to the rented house and turned off the mobile phone signal to prevent it from pushing some news that I didn't want to see. I turned on the TV, wanting to watch a drama to relax, but as soon as it started playing, I heard the name, Liam. To avoid hearing the follow-up, I immediately switched channels, unexpectedly. After switching more than a dozen channels, all of them were about it. It seems that the matching result has come out, which has attracted so many media to report. I could only turn off the TV, lie on the bed, and force myself to sleep. Just as my pillow was getting wetter and wetter, there was a sudden knock on the door. Liam's voice was terrifyingly low, hitting my eardrums through the crack of the door.
Mateo, open the door.
The moment I opened the door, I felt dizzy. When I came to my senses, I was already pinned against the door by Liam. The Alpha's scorching body covered mine. Liam forcefully lifted my lowered head.
Why?
The rest of his words were swallowed back when our eyes met. I sniffed, pretending to be strong, feigning indifference. But I didn't know that my red eyes had already betrayed my emotions, just like a wet little deer. Liam raised his hand and gently wiped away the tears on my face. When he spoke again, his tone was much softer.
Why are you crying?
I pushed him. You already have an Omega, and an Alpha and an Omega should keep a proper distance. You'd better leave. Liam didn't move at all. Instead, he said self-deprecatingly.
My Omega not only rejected my confession, but also fled the scene.
I widened my eyes, never expecting that there would be a day when Liam was rejected. Then go and chase him. What are you doing here, looking for me? He pressed down further, getting even closer. I could even see my slightly trembling body reflected in his pupils. My heart skipped a beat suddenly. Liam slowly said,
Aren't I chasing right now?
I was stunned on the spot for a moment, trapped by the Alpha in the small world he created. My nostrils were filled with the pheromone that smelled of rust. My mind was in chaos, and it took me a long time to understand the meaning of Liam's words. You mean, you're chasing me? But, weren't you supposed to have a match today? Liam pursed his lips and didn't speak. Instead, he picked me up and sat me on the sofa. I straddled his legs, with my back against his chest. Liam turned on the TV, and the report I hadn't finished watching was playing on it.
Liam's confession was snubbed today. Couldn't tens of thousands of roses wait for the protagonist?
In the picture, tens of thousands of roses slowly rose on the banquet platform, and Liam stood alone in the middle, looking extremely lonely. Liam put his arm around my waist and kissed the gland on the back of my neck.
There won't be a match. I've been planning this for so long.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to confess to you. Everyone in the audience would be our witnesses.
A feeling of sourness welled up, and before the tears could fall, Liam gently wiped them away. His voice rang in my ear.
I like you. Will you accept me?
I didn't expect Liam to be so straightforward. My mind was in a daze, but I nodded vigorously.
Then why did you run away?
I choked up and said, I'm sorry. I just didn't want to see you with another Omega, so I thought you didn't want me anymore. Liam was silent for a while, then picked me up and stood in front of the French window, pointing to a star in the sky whose light was almost invisible.
See that star? It's the guardian star of Blue Star. I'll protect you forever. Just like it.
Before long, the Federation and the Zerg started a war. Since it was something expected, she had already prepared herself mentally. The place where the war broke out was another planet tens of millions of kilometers away from the Federation star. Liam, as an admiral, volunteered to go to the front line. Before leaving, he prepared a full freezer of blood. She tidied up his combat uniform for him, stood on tiptoe and kissed his lips. At the moment before boarding the combat spaceship, Liam said,
Wait for me to come home.
She watched the reports sent from the front line at home every day. Every victory of the Federation would reduce the fear in her heart by a few points. Liam would also send a message on the optical brain to report that he was safe on time.
Baby, I miss you so much. Do you miss me? Don't worry. The war is going smoothly. Tomorrow morning will be the last battle. After that, I'll go home. I want to eat the braised spareribs you made.
Before dawn the next day, she went to buy a lot of vegetables, trying to make sure Liam could eat as soon as he came back. He must have lost a lot of weight during this war. She had to cook more dishes to nourish his body. But just when she was happily cutting vegetables, the optical brain suddenly received a message. It's an emergency notice from the Federation. Liam is critically injured and on the verge of death. The knife in my hand dropped to the ground, and I slumped down on the spot, repeatedly confirming that this message indeed came from the official source. I don't believe it. Liam clearly said that the war was about to end. How could he suddenly be critically injured? It's fake. Surely someone has hacked into the Federation's optical brain? I kept telling myself in my heart not to be deceived, but my vision gradually became blurred by tears. Why is this happening? It was not until I got on the aircraft sent by the Federation that I knew what had happened. Today's battle was supposed to be a landslide victory, but one small team accidentally fell into a trap set by the Zerg. Liam risked his life to save them. He desperately sent the members of that small team out, while he himself fought against thousands of Zerg alone. By the time the Federation's reinforcements arrived, the ground was already covered with mountains of corpses and blood flowing like a river. They found Liam among thousands of them, but there was nothing that could be done to save him. The spaceship quickly shuttled through various planets, traveling at the fastest speed towards the battlefield, and the spaceship carrying Liam was also rushing back at the fastest speed. We would meet at one point on the straight line. Obviously, the Federation meant to let me see Liam for the last time, but I don't believe it. He was so annoying that he should have lived a long life instead of dying young. He also asked me to wait for him to come home. He hasn't come home yet. The two spaceships finally intersected. The moment I saw him, tears welled up uncontrollably and all my hopes were shattered. He was covered in blood on the hospital bed. Even though several blood transfusion bags were hung, blood was still gushing out continuously. All his internal organs were broken. How much pain he must have endured? All the other people in the room left, leaving only me and Liam. I knelt beside his bed, holding his cold hand and crying uncontrollably. Liam's originally closed eyes slightly opened, he said.
Don't cry.
He tried to raise his hand to wipe away my tears, but halfway through, it fell feebly. Another mouthful of blood welled up from his throat.
I'm sorry.
I don't want you to say sorry. I want you to be okay. You promised me you'd go home. You will survive, right? Liam gave a weak smile, but the next moment, he closed his eyes again due to the severe pain in his body. He didn't even have the strength to deceive me. The spaceship continued to travel in the vast universe and passed by a dark blue planet on the way. The blue ocean and the fresh green land intertwined with each other, and everything was full of vitality. It's called Blue Star, where our ancestors once lived. Around Blue Star, there is a battered white planet orbiting beside it. From beginning to end, until the universe shatters, Liam used his last bit of strength and with great difficulty raised one finger, pointing at that satellite. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. But at that moment, I knew what he wanted to say, he said.
I will be like that star, guarding you forever.
No, I don't want you to die. I crazily picked up the knife not far away and cut my palm hard. Blood flowed into Liam's mouth in gushes like a spring, but his lips were still pale. Everything seemed to go back to that first summer night. I lay on Liam's bed and secretly sucked his blood from the wound. The summer breeze was gentle and warm, mixed with the rich fragrance of flowers floating in from the window. The moonlight was like a white silk, gently lying on him. I carefully squeezed the blood from my fingertips and watched as his lips quickly turned from pale to rosy. But now, the blood in my palm had dried up, yet Liam still showed no sign of waking up. Without hesitation, I continued to cut a huge wound on my other hand. When a human loses 30% of their blood, it is life-threatening, while for a Blood Clan member, it's only 5%. My head started to spin, and my vision gradually became blurred. But I still stubbornly knelt beside the hospital bed, looking hopefully at the blood flowing into Liam's mouth. Drink more, drink more. The blood was rapidly draining away, and so was my life. But I want him to live. My life, all the blood in my body, came because of him. In a daze, I seemed to have a very long dream. I dreamed that I got on a vehicle, and everyone on the vehicle hung their heads as if they had lost their souls. All that could be seen was gray. Outside the car window, there were sometimes desolate and dilapidated forests, and sometimes battlefields with flying artillery fire. Everything was so strange and grotesque, the journey was very long, and I didn't know when I could reach the end. Suddenly someone patted me on the shoulder. I turned my head. Although I couldn't see his face clearly, I felt an unconscious sense of familiarity. It was as if we had known each other for many years, he said.
You shouldn't be here.
At the same time, the scene outside the car window started to move backwards rapidly, and the ground shook violently. It was as if the smooth and intact glass had suddenly been shattered in the center, and countless glass shards were pouring down, as if the world was about to collapse. I finally remembered who he was, and the face in front of me gradually became clear. Liam was standing in front of me, perfectly fine. He frowned, and his expression was full of regret. But I smiled and, without hesitation, tightly grabbed his wrist and jumped out of the window. The scene outside the car window disappeared instantly, and beneath our feet was a bottomless abyss. At the moment when the world was collapsing, suddenly, 10,000 feet of colorful rays of light burst out from the distant valley. Up to this point, the world finally had colors.
Thanks for watching, and before you go, here's a little behind the scenes fact. Can you guess which shot was the hardest to make? Believe it or not, it was the scene where the little vampire climbs through the window. I generated that shot so many times and still couldn't get a version I was happy with. AI can create vampires, but apparently climbing through a window is where it draws the line. In the end, I had to get a little creative. The version you saw in the video is actually a reverse shot, and honestly, it worked better than most of the correct versions. Let me know if you noticed. See you in the next story.